Everyone admired her beauty. Every man wanted her. But no one knew the price she paid to stay young. Until the night everything fell apart. Welcome to African Tales by Khal, where African stories come to life. Subscribe and join our storytelling family. Senna was the kind of woman who stopped conversations just by walking past. When she stepped into a street, heads turned like grass bending under a strong wind. Men followed her silently with their eyes, whispering to each other like thieves planning a secret. Some sent flowers wrapped with ribbons. Some sent perfume and necklaces, hoping to win her heart. Many promised forever, speaking as if they were offering a kingdom. But Senna never chose quickly. She watched every man like a hunter studying footsteps in the sand. One man named Tilo invited her to dinner in a bright restaurant near the lagoon. The night was full of laughter and soft music. After they ate, Senna leaned back and gently closed her eyes, pretending to fall asleep with her makeup untouched. In the morning, Tilo looked at her face and laughed loudly. "You don't need all that paint on your face," he said, shaking his head. "I want to see the real you. Wash it off." Senna opened her eyes slowly, smiling politely. "The real me," she said softly. But inside her heart, something turned cold. When she returned home, she dropped his number into the trash like a leaf falling from a dying tree. She never called him again. To her, his words were knives. He did not understand her. He did not deserve to stay. Another man named Zemo invited her to the beach early on a bright Saturday morning. "Just feel the water with me," he said excitedly. Senna shook her head gently. "I do not like water," she answered. Zemo laughed and pulled her wrist, trying to drag her into the waves. "Come on, don't be dramatic," he shouted. Senna's face darkened. She stepped back slowly, removing her hand from his grip. She left that day without looking behind her. And she never answered his messages again. There were others. Men who begged to see her face without makeup. "Just show me once," they pleaded. "It means trust." But the moment they asked, her heart closed like a heavy door. Her voice became cool, and she walked away. And they wondered what sin they had committed. No one understood. No one came close. To the world, Senna looked proud, maybe even vain. People whispered behind her back. "She thinks she is better than everyone. One day age will catch her. She hides behind powder like a coward." Senna never argued. She never explained. Because to her, makeup was more than beauty. It was armor. It was a shield. Without it, she could not breathe. Her makeup table looked like a small market stall. Powders, brushes, creams, and shining jars stood in rows like soldiers guarding a kingdom. The lamp above it was always bright, glowing all night. Every morning and every evening, Senna sat there, carefully painting her face stroke by stroke, layer by layer. She wore makeup to the market. She wore makeup when she cooked. She even wore makeup when she slept, her head resting high so nothing would smudge. When she was sick, lying weak in bed, she whispered to her cousin, "Mirror and powder, please." People laughed about it. One friend joked, "The day Senna dies, they will bury her with full makeup, eyelashes and all." Senna only smiled gently. But inside her chest, fear tightened like a rope. The thought of someone seeing her real face made her stomach twist. Her beauty was her power. Her mask was her life. Among the many men who chased her, one man was different. His name was Rami. He was older than most, calm and gentle like steady rain. He did not bring flowers every day. He did not make loud promises. He spoke softly and listened deeply. He asked about her dreams, about her thoughts, about her fears. And when they walked together, he never tried to touch her face. He never begged to see beneath her makeup. He simply held her hand with respect. With Rami, Senna felt something strange, something she had forgotten existed. Safety. She thought, "At last someone who loves me without trying to break me." Slowly, she opened her heart to him. And slowly, her laughter changed. It was no longer the practiced laughter she used to hide behind. It became real. Honest. Warm, like sunlight after a long season of rain. Days turned into weeks, and weeks quietly folded into months. Senna and Rami soon became a familiar sight, walking together along quiet streets, sharing roasted corn from roadside sellers, laughing softly under mango trees. They preferred calm places where the wind could speak and hearts could listen. Rami never demanded more than she was ready to give. He was patient, so patient that sometimes Senna watched him secretly amazed. Is this what love is meant to feel like? She wondered. Not fire that burns, but warmth that stays. One evening, while they sat beside the river watching fishermen pull in their nets, Rami turned to her. "Senna," he said quietly. She looked up, surprised by the seriousness in his voice. He took a deep breath. I love you. I want to build a life with you. A home. A future. Will you marry me? Senna felt her heart jump like a frightened bird. No man had ever made her feel safe enough to say yes. But Rami was different. She whispered, yes. I will marry you. The day of the wedding arrived with music echoing through the village. Drums beat loudly, dancers moved like flames, and bright fabrics filled the hall with color. People came from far and near, curious to see the famous beauty become a bride at last. Senna stood at the entrance wearing a gown that shimmered like moonlight on water. Her face glowed under layers of powder and golden dust. When she walked forward, guests gasped and whispered, she is perfect. She looks unreal. Rami waited for her at the altar, tall and steady, his eyes soft with pride. When he took her hand, he whispered near her ear, you look like a blessing today. Senna smiled, her heart swelling. The vows were spoken, rings exchanged, and cheers exploded like fireworks. People danced, plates clattered, children laughed, and the hall glowed with light and joy. Later that night, when the celebration ended and the last guest left, Senna and Rami were escorted to their room, newly married and ready to begin their new chapter. Inside, candles burned slowly, filling the space with soft golden light. The scent of jasmine filled the air. Rami laughed with joy and lifted Senna in his arms, spinning her gently. Senna, he whispered, tonight is ours. Nothing else matters. Senna smiled, but when he leaned too close, she turned her face slightly away. It was a natural habit, like breathing. No one had ever touched her face. No one had ever come close. Rami did not notice. He was lost in celebration. He stepped backward to carry her toward the bed, and his foot caught the long edge of the carpet. In one terrifying moment, he slipped. His body fell hard. His head struck the wooden corner of the bed. The sound echoed through the room like a drum strike. Senna froze. The world stopped. For a heartbeat, she could not move. Then her breath returned sharply, and fear rushed through her like a storm. Rami, she cried, dropping to her knees. Blood touched her fingers. Her hands shook violently as she pressed them to the wound. Tears burst from her eyes, uncontrollable and hot. Rami, please wake up, she sobbed. Please don't leave me. Not tonight. Not today. Don't leave me alone. Her tears fell faster, sliding down her cheeks. They cut dark lines through her powder, washing pieces of her mask away. But she did not notice. She forgot everything except the man lying still on the floor. Please God, she whispered, voice cracking. Don't take him from me. I can't go back to loneliness. I can't. Then Rami groaned weakly. His fingers moved. Slowly. His eyes opened, confused and heavy. Senna leaned close, relief flooding her body. Rami, you're alive, she whispered breathlessly. But Rami's expression changed suddenly. His eyes widened, trembling with confusion. Senna, he whispered. What happened to your face? The words hit her like a blade. She froze. Her heart stopped beating. She raised a shaking hand and touched her cheek. The smoothness was gone. Her skin felt dry, thin, and lined. Rami stared at her, unable to look away. His chest rose and fell quickly as he tried to understand the face before him. You are not, he stammered. Senna covered her face with her hands and sobbed. Rami pushed himself back across the floor, weak and trembling, eyes wide with fear. The young bride he had carried moments ago was gone. Before him now was a face aged, wrinkled, bare. The truth she had kept hidden for decades was exposed. Rami's body trembled as he tried to push himself toward the door, using the wall for support. His eyes darted around the room like a trapped animal searching for escape. No, he whispered, voice shaking. This is not real. This can't be real. Senna crawled closer, her hands trembling, her voice breaking. Rami, please. Don't turn away from me. Please listen before you run. She reached for his leg, holding it weakly, as if her strength was fading with every breath. Let go, Rami whispered, fear thick in his voice. I don't know who you are. Senna's heart cracked in her chest. I am Senna, she said through sobs. I am still the woman you loved. I am still the woman who walked beside you every day. Rami, look at me. Not my face, me. But Rami turned his eyes away, unable to look. The silence between them became a heavy stone. Her tears poured faster, washing away more powder, revealing deep lines and loosened skin. Her hair thinned, strands falling like dried leaves. I never wanted you to see this, she whispered. I never wanted you to run. Rami leaned back against the wall, his breath uneven, his hands shaking. How old are you? He whispered. Senna closed her eyes, and the room seemed to stop breathing. When I met you, Rami continued softly, you said you were 25. You said you were just starting your life. Senna nodded slowly. I am not 25. Rami swallowed hard. Then who are you? Senna lowered her head, voice brittle as glass. I am 100 years old. Rami's jaw dropped. He stared at her as if she were a ghost. 100, he repeated in disbelief. How is that possible? Senna took a deep, shaking breath. It started when I was 35, she said quietly. I was engaged once. I thought I had found true love. Her hands tightened together painfully. But he left me for a younger woman. He did not even look back. My heart shattered. I wanted to stop time. I wanted to stop pain. One night, I walked far beyond the town, crying like a child. I did not know where I was going. I only wanted the sky to swallow me. Her voice trembled at the memory. That night, I met an old woman sitting by the roadside. She called my name, even though I never told her who I was. She looked into my eyes and said she knew my suffering. She said she could help me. She said she could freeze time for me. Her fingers dug into the floor. And I believed her. She gave me a small jar filled with powder. She said, with this, men will chase you forever. They will worship you. They will grow old, but you never will. Rami stared, speechless. Senna's voice became a whisper. At first, it felt like magic. I was young again. Men followed me everywhere. They loved me more than they should. But there was a rule I did not understand. She wiped her cheek, though it changed nothing. The rule was never to cry for anyone. Tears break the spell. I ignored it, she said softly. I thought love was worth everything. But the first man I loved after using the powder, he died. He aged suddenly, and his heart stopped while I remained young. The next man died too. And the next. Every man who loved me grew old too quickly. Their lives ended, while mine could not move forward. I watched them fade one by one. Rami covered his mouth with his hand, horrified. You watched them die? Senna nodded, choking on tears. I did not plan to love anyone again, Senna whispered. I dated men only to feel something. To feel desired. To pretend I mattered. I watched them grow old and die. And I felt nothing. My heart was dead. She touched her chest weakly. But when you came, Rami, everything changed. I felt alive. I felt seen. I felt safe. I loved you. And for the first time in decades, I forgot the rule. Her voice cracked painfully. I cried for you. Rami looked at her slowly, his voice barely a breath. And because you cried, the spell broke. Senna nodded, tears sliding down her wrinkled cheeks like rain. My youth was stolen all at once. Every year I borrowed has returned tonight. The room fell silent. The candles trembled. Rami stared at the woman before him, broken, terrified, human, his heart torn between fear and pity. Senna reached out her shaking hand. Please, Rami. Don't leave me. Rami's breath trembled as he stared at the hand reaching toward him. For a long moment, he did not move. His heart pounded painfully in his chest. Fear pushed him backward, but pity pulled him forward. He pressed his palms against the wall, eyes full of confusion. Senna, he whispered. I don't know what to do. I don't know how to feel. Senna's voice shook as she answered. Feel what is true. The woman you loved is still here. Rami squeezed his eyes shut, as if trying to erase the image before him. You lied to me, he murmured. You hid yourself from me. You let me love a mask. Senna flinched as if struck. I was afraid, she cried. So afraid. I have lived 100 years watching love leave me again and again. I wanted someone who would stay. Someone who would not look at me with disgust. Rami opened his eyes slowly. But now I am looking, he said softly. Senna lowered her head, her shoulders shaking. I know you want to run. Anyone would. But please, please don't leave me tonight. Not tonight. Her voice broke into pieces. I cannot bear another night alone. I cannot return to silence. Rami, you are the first man I have ever loved with truth. I was ready to throw the powder away. I was ready to grow old slowly beside you. She lifted her face, tears streaming. Just stay. Stay long enough to hear me breathe. Rami's chest rose sharply. He looked into her eyes, and for the first time since the fall, he saw not a monster, but a frightened woman drowning in her own pain. Senna, he whispered. She crawled closer, her hands trembling, her voice soft like a breaking leaf. I am not asking you to accept me tonight. I am only asking for mercy. Sit beside me. Talk to me. Don't let this night end with hatred. She reached for his hand again, slowly, hoping he would not recoil. Rami stared at her hand, thin and shaking, and something in him softened. He remembered the way she laughed under the mango tree. He remembered the warmth in her voice when she spoke about children she wished to have someday. He remembered the way she listened, deeply, sincerely. He swallowed hard, fighting the tightness in his throat. "All right," he whispered. Senna froze. "All right." Rami nodded slowly. "I won't leave." "Not yet." Relief flooded Senna's face like sunrise breaking through storm clouds. She let out a shaky breath, her body trembling. "Thank you," she whispered. "Thank you, Rami." He moved closer, sitting carefully on the floor across from her. His eyes still held fear, but now there was something else: pain, sadness, confusion. They sat in silence for a long time, listening to the sound of their own breathing, the quiet crackle of candles, and the heavy stillness of the night. Senna lifted her hand to speak again, but suddenly her body convulsed. Her fingers twisted inward, her shoulders curved, and her voice cracked into a cry. "No," she gasped. "Not again. Please, not yet." Her skin began folding deeper, collapsing like dried fruit. Her back bent more sharply, her bones creaking. Her hair fell in white strands across her arms. Rami's eyes widened in terror, his hands clutching the floor. "What is happening?" Senna groaned through pain. "The rest of the years they are returning." Rami crawled closer instinctively, his fear fighting with compassion. "Can I help you?" he whispered. Senna shook her head violently. "No one can help me now," she gasped. "Once the spell breaks, time rushes to claim what was stolen. Every second, every minute I borrowed must be paid back." Her voice weakened into a whisper. "I thought I had more time." Rami pressed his hand to his forehead, shaking. "Tell me what to do." Senna's breath grew short, shallow, trembling. "Stay," she whispered. "Just stay. Don't let me die alone. Don't let my last moment be fear. Please." Her fingers reached toward him, barely able to move. Rami hesitated only a second. Then he crawled forward, gently taking her hand into his. Her skin felt fragile like thin paper. Senna's lips trembled. "Thank you," she whispered. For the first time, he held her without hesitation. But even as he held her hand, her body continued changing rapidly. Her face sagged, her eyes grew dim, her breathing thin and broken. "Senna," he whispered, voice shaking. "Stay with me." She looked at him, her eyes clouded with pain and hope. "I am here," she breathed. She tried to lift her hand to touch his cheek, but her arm fell weakly to the floor. The room grew colder, the candles flickering as if afraid. The night held its breath. Rami watched helplessly as Senna's body shook with every breath. Tears filled his eyes, not from fear now, but from a deep grief carving itself into his chest. He had not imagined that the woman he married carried such heavy chains. Guilt struck him like thunder. If only I had seen her fear sooner, he thought. If only I had listened more closely. "Senna," he whispered, his voice breaking. "I am here. I am not running." Senna's lips trembled into a weak, fading smile. "You stayed," she whispered. "You stayed." Her hand tightened weakly around his fingers. "For 100 years," she said softly, "I feared that no man could love me without seeing perfection. I believed beauty was the only door to love." She paused, gasping painfully for breath. "I was wrong. Love is not in a painted face. Love is in kindness, in patience, in truth." Her breath rattled in her chest. "But I learned too late." Rami leaned closer, tears falling freely. "You should have trusted me," he said gently. "I would have stayed. I would have chosen you." Senna closed her eyes. "I know," she whispered. "I know that now. But fear blinded me. I hid so long that I forgot how to stand in the open." She lifted her trembling fingers toward his cheek. "Forgive me, Rami. I never meant to build our love on lies." He gently placed his hand over hers, pressing it to his face. "I forgive you," he whispered. "I forgive all of it. I only wish you had told me sooner. I only wish we had more time." Senna exhaled shakily, relief softening her expression. "More time," she echoed. "That is all I ever stole. And now time is taking itself back." Her voice was barely audible. "I am so tired, Rami." Rami wiped his cheeks with the back of his hand. "Senna, listen to me. You were loved. Not by men chasing beauty, but by me. I saw you long before tonight. I saw your laughter, your strength, your heart." Senna's eyes filled with tears again, but not from fear, only from gratitude. "That is all I ever wanted," she whispered. "To be loved for who I was, not for the face I painted." Her body trembled violently. Her breathing faltered. Rami held both her hands now, his face inches from hers. Senna, stay with me, he begged. She tried to answer, but only a thin breath escaped. Her skin tightened, her bones shifting sharply beneath fragile flesh. I am slipping, she whispered. Don't be afraid, Rami said, though his voice trembled. I am here. You are not alone. Senna's eyes fluttered open one last time. They no longer held the bright spark he once knew. They were tired and gentle, like the eyes of someone who had walked far and finally reached the end. Rami, she breathed. Yes, my love, he answered. Her lips formed the softest smile. Thank you for seeing me. Her fingers loosened in his hand. The room went still. The candles stopped flickering. And Senna's body fell quiet in his arms, her face resting softly against his chest. The last of the powder dissolved like dust, leaving only a frail, aged woman who had once carried beauty like a crown and fear like a curse. Rami bowed his head over her, letting his tears fall onto her hair. The one night meant to begin there forever had ended in silence. Rami stayed beside her for a long time, unable to move. He held her hand until the candles burned low and dawn's light crept through the window. To the world, she was the woman whose beauty stunned the earth. But to him at that moment, she was just Senna, the woman who wanted love so deeply that she traded her life for it. He closed her eyes gently and whispered, You were enough, Senna. You were always enough. Morning arrived quietly. The sun slipped through the curtains and touched the stillness of the room. Rami stood slowly, his body shaking with grief. He looked down at the woman he had married only hours before and whispered, Not all that shines is gold, and not everything hidden is shame. He covered her gently with a white cloth and stepped back. The night that began with music and laughter ended in sorrow and shadows. And the world never knew what price was paid behind the painted mask.